What's up, brothers? Hope everyone's doing well out there. It's a nice, cool October evening. It's about 72 degrees. It's about 7:30, so it's still early enough for me to come out here and shoot the shit with you guys. So I figured I'd do just that. It's my favorite time of the year. Got these nice, cool evenings. It's really chill. I can sit here and watch cars drive by and chill with you guys. Now, people have requested that I would shift back into giving a little bit more dating advice. I've been making videos about things that are wrong with the world, so to say, and they're interesting topics, but a lot of people subscribed for dating advice, so we're going to shift back into that tonight. And the subject that we're going to talk about, has to do with this time of the year, actually. Once it hits October, and the leaves start to turn orange, and the temperature drops, and we start to wear these flannels and hoodies. Women got their boots and their little, spandex jeans that they wear and all that. Things change a bit, and women get in their emotions. They call it cuffing season. And cuffing season just simply implies that it's the season when women are adamant about finding themselves a boyfriend. In the summertime, they might be running around in their little Daisy Dukes and bikinis. But by the time the fall hits, they're ready to settle down and shack up with a dude. And what I wanted to talk about in particular in regards to this is that I wanted to talk about why women typically emotionally withdraw when men go after commitment. Women get turned off when men pursue commitment. And a lot of guys find this to be true. And I want to give you guys a couple of tips on what to do. And since it's cuffing season, if you're a guy that takes good care of yourself, you've got some things going on in your life, you'll probably see an uptick in women reaching out with those "Hey Stranger" texts. Popping out of the woodworks just to check up on you. And if you're more of a modest or average guy, maybe you don't have a whole lot of that going on, but there's still opportunity out there. You just got to go out and find it. And, something that a lot of guys face is they're able to get that going on. A lot of times she actually is the one that's more interested in you. And you get the first date, goes well. You get the second date, goes well. And you don't get a third date. She's gone. Now that you're invested, she's no longer invested. It's strange because a lot of guys will say there's a shift in the power, right? They'll say that you had all the power, the guy had all the power, and she was the one reaching out to you. She was the one pursuing you. And suddenly you started to get invested and you felt emotionally attached to her, and she has all the power, and suddenly you feel like you're some kind of little simp boy, and she's just walking all over you. And she dumps your ass for somebody else. It's interesting because guys will typically pursue one of two things. Number one, they'll pursue sex. And a lot of times when guys pursue sex, they get friend-zoned. Or guys will pursue commitment, and when they pursue commitment, they just get ghosted. The opposite of sex is the friend zone. The opposite of commitment is getting ghosted. And it's ironic that you get the opposite of what you want, but it's telling. Women have kind of an inverted way of going about these things. The way commitment and attraction works with them it's different. You can't be that direct. And this is where I want to give you guys a tip. Because if it's not working out for you, it's a sign, the power doesn't exist. It's not that the power shifted. That's not a real thing. It's a sign that you mismanaged the situation. You know, when you've got a woman in front of you that's interested in you and it doesn't work out, you have to accept that you mismanaged the situation. And if you want to manage the situation properly, you only got to do 3 things. I promise you, if you accomplish these 3 things, if you manage these 3 areas properly, there's a 90% chance she's going to want a relationship with you. If you don't manage all 3 of these things, if even one of them slips, there's probably a 90% chance she's going to leave you. If she really likes you, she might try to manage it herself, but she won't put up with that for too long. Now, number 1, you have to keep attraction high. Because if she went out with you once, she went out with you twice, at some point the attraction was high. And if she ghosted, at some point the attraction disappeared. And I know this sounds obvious, like, yeah, of course you got to keep the attraction high, but most guys fail at this. And I want to tell you exactly why they fail at this. They fail at this because they talk to women, they communicate with women in a way that, like in an emotional way that they think women want to be communicated. Or they think women want you to communicate with them this kind of way. So they become like romantic. The way you keep attraction high is by communicating with women like they're your friends. I've tried saying this in the past, but I think I screwed it up. But you have to communicate with women like they're your friends. And I know what you're thinking. Isn't that how you get put in the friend zone? And no, it's not. The way you communicate with your friends is you call your friends idiots, you insult them, you pick on them, you bully each other, you talk trash to each other. And it's kind of this way to sharpen each other up, but that's masculinity communicating with masculinity. You know, you call them a dumbass. You know, you catch your friend checking out a girl and you're like, she don't want you, bro. You're too ugly for her. But you're preparing him, making him stronger. That's how men communicate with other men. But that's also how men communicate with women. You know, if you're out with your girlfriend, second date, you should already have little jokes. What is she, 5'1"? You know, she's a little bit on the short side. Exaggerate it. You make fun of her. She's only 3 feet tall. You know, maybe she acts a little bit masculine, right? You call her Big Daddy. Her nickname is Big Daddy. You know, just tease her, make fun of her. Talk to her the same way you talk to your friends. You talk trash to your friends. You have fun with your friends. But when you communicate that way with a woman, it's masculinity communicating with femininity. The way femininity receives that is in a way of flirting, you know, in a way of you sort of making her feel small but safe. This is how hypergamy works. Hypergamy doesn't have a numerical value. It's not a money thing. It's a masculinity thing. I should say it's not a monetary value. It's a masculinity value. Okay, if she feels like, you know, your personality is so big that you don't submit to her, but you are communicating with her, it puts her in a place like it's, I'm telling you, they respond to that. Like, you're supposed to be, and it doesn't matter how old she is. She could be 50, she could be 20. You're walking down the street and you're teasing her and she's smacking you on the arm, play fighting with you, being physical with you. You know, it's flirting. You know, that's how attraction works. That's how it works with women. You know, you take her home and the two of you are like play fighting and wrestling around. You're rubbing your whiskers from your chin into her neck. And she's going crazy. You're play fighting, you're teasing. It's masculinity and femininity. That's how attraction stays high. That's the most important part. When you keep that high, but you can literally do the things I just said to do. But I don't know how tall your lady is, but you know, whatever. There's things about her that you can play around with, right? You have to utilize that. That's how men and women communicate. That's how flirting works. That's how attraction stays high. Now, number two, you have to have proper communication. You can't be one of these guys that uses the phone just to set up dates. Dude, it is 2025. If you go 5 days without talking to her, she will forget about you. I don't know how else to put it. Somebody else will come along. It doesn't make you more mysterious and make her want to chase you. She forgets about you. You're not as important as you think. Like, as much as we all wish we were, we're not. There's another guy coming along to swoop her away, and once he starts flirting with her and the attraction gets high with him, you're out of the mix. Right? So you have to have proper communication. And that just means, the two of you communicate. Like, you text her, you call her, you get with her, you're consistent with the communication. Stop thinking you have to wait 3 hours to text her back. No, you want rhythm. You want flow in the conversation. It has to be in the moment. You can't run from it and wait, trying to push, pull, and shit like that. That's not how it works. That might have been how it worked pre-social media, but now things move fast. Communication has to stay proper. Manage that properly. But number three, the third one, and this kind of follows up on the communication. Neither one of you, and it's up to you to manage this, neither one of you can be needy or jealous. Okay, so if you find yourself getting needy, you got to step back, my friend. You got to chill. If you find yourself getting jealous, you got to step back. You got to chill. If you find her getting needy, you got to make her step back. If you find her getting jealous, you got to put her in her place a bit. Be a good man, be an honorable man, but, you got to manage the situation. I promise you, you screw any of those three up, it's over. It's over. But if you nail all three of those and you realize how easy it is to nail those, and that's all you need is those three. When you realize how easy that is, man, smooth sailing for you. You're going to crush it. You're going to kick ass. And that is, if this fall you want to find yourself a girlfriend. I'm 39 years old, and I'll spend a Wednesday evening, 8:30 p.m., 9 p.m., walking with my girl downtown. And even though we're grown adults, we might as well be teenagers, because some things about human nature never change. We're talking. We're flirting. She's smacking me on the arm and talking trash and making fun of me, and that's how it works. Right? And that's what sends her home with butterflies. That's what has her thinking about you when you're gone. And another thing I want to add, a lot of these guys that, they have this thing in their head, this idea that if you don't have sex with her on like the first date, second date, third date, you're like less of a man, and the relationship is like a dead end, like she's just using you or something, or like you've somehow failed and there's no point in moving forward. That's bullshit. I'm going to give you guys a real pro tip here. Okay, if you've been around the block, if you've had sex with a decent amount of women, I'm not saying that to like brag or something, but if you're a guy that you've had some experience, you no longer put the pussy on a pedestal. You're no longer concerned with whether you had sex with her or not. It doesn't matter. You're concerned with whether you're enjoying yourself or not. And the real kicker, and the real gem here is, if you have a lady that you're interested in and you like her and you go on a few dates with her and you execute in those three areas that I told you to execute on, and she has the butterflies, and the two of you are out, maybe you're just walking at a park in the evening, sun's going down, she's grabbing on you, I've had instances. She's known every part of my body. I've known every part of her body. And we've never even seen each other naked yet. Just touchy-feely, right? It's just getting that way, right? And if I go home without having sex with her, I feel like I'm on steroids. You know, I'm like, people say like blue balls. I'm like, nah, that's like sexual transmutation that I'm feeling here. Like, I get this testosterone boost, and it's like, I feel like I'm on freaking steroids. When I'm going out with a woman and my interest in her is really high and my sexual desire for her is really high, but I haven't smashed yet, I just feel like I'm on steroids. And I feel like when I do smash, I lose that power. You know, I lose that superpower. I start to get like oxytocin and serotonin. It's like I'm satisfied all of a sudden. And that test boost that I had, that superpower, kind of disappears. So I almost want to make her wait for sex. And also, a lot of times if I smash a woman on the first night, I don't want to talk to her again. My attraction to her drops. It's like we move too fast. Blew the load too quick, if you will. You know, and that can happen too on both sides. So rushing sex, if it's a woman that you really like, it's not always a good idea. It's usually not a good idea, and you might be the one withdrawing emotionally instead of her. In my case, that's usually the way it works. If I hit on the first night, I'm like, it's been cool, but I'm like, I'm starting to get distant. Starting to communicate less and less. And women will do the same thing to you a lot of times. So you got to learn to enjoy the moment. Execute those three jobs. And I'm telling you, I think there's probably a 90% chance that shit works out. And as long as you always execute those three, very well might last damn near forever. But if at any given time period you lose out on those, you screw it up, it may be over with. You know, because we do live in the modern era. Divorce is big business. And we all know there's plenty of bulldog lawyers out there willing to get their hands dirty and their pockets full on your dime. So be careful with that as well. You know, we always have to throw in a little bit of a red pill to keep them type of guys happy. But I guess I'll go ahead and end this one. I don't really have anything else to say about that. You know, comment and tell me what you think in the comment section. And I'll probably be back this weekend for a video talking about what's wrong with the world again. You know, we'll try to mix it up. Maybe every other video. During the week, we'll do some dating advice. Weekend, we'll talk about the world. Alright guys, hope this video was somewhat informative, and that's about it for tonight. Until next time, see ya.